15 people
for
the WZR Army, dude.
It's crazy, man. The show continues to grow on a weekly basis. Since day one says, we hate you. I hate you right back, you son of a... No, I'm just playing with you. WZROnline.com/chat. What were you going to say, buddy?
Since day one must love you then, because he always comes back.
Yeah, right?
There must be some. Maybe that hate's like a love affair or something.
So, again, thank you for blah, blah, blah. Thank you for coming back every week. It's crazy the amount of people that show up here. So, let me ask you before we move on to Bryan Danielson. And guys, by the way, like I said earlier, we're going to get out of here on a weekly basis about 10 minutes early, probably at about 9:50 Eastern Time each week. And if anybody wants to help out with archives, if you've got a program that can record for us on a weekly basis and you'd be willing to do that, shoot me an email at webmaster@prowrestlingscoops.com, webmaster@prowrestlingscoops.com, and we'll talk, man. We'll talk about it. What else? All right, what did you think of the NXT finale, my man? The ending to Raw. We'll talk about that, and then we'll move on. I thought it was,
the ending to Raw?
Yeah, right.
It really reminds me of NWO. If you think about that gang mentality type thing, and I think it's a very smart angle to bring it back.
It drew last night. Raw did a
3.4?
3.4, right. 3.4 rating off hours of 3.4 and 3.5. It was a 3.36 for hour number 1 and 3.5 for hour number 2.
Here's my question. Last week, because I don't remember. I know I seen it, but what was the NXT rating from last week? Do you remember?
It dropped, man. It
did drop, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I would have swore it would have got bigger.
No, because it did like a 1.3 for the season finale, and then I think it did. No, it dropped. It definitely. I want to say 1.0.
Oh, that still ain't bad.
Well, it's not. From a 1.3. It was the season finale, and you're coming off a major, or it was the season debut last week. Last week was the season debut. Plus, you're coming off a major angle on Raw. So the hope was that 1.11. Somebody in the chat room says thank you. So a 1.1 last week. But the hope is you're coming off a major angle on Raw last week with the NXT rookies, where they started that, and the hope was that it was going to carry over into
that's why I was trying to get at when I was bringing it up. But you said it dropped, so
yeah. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens tonight. After we go off the air here, we'll get the ratings for NXT for tonight's show tomorrow. But we'll see what happens tonight because once again they left you with that cliffhanger on Raw last night.
Man, and like I said, I said this before. What I'm really thinking is, I think it's Vince McMahon that drove the limo. And I think, and I'm just saying, like I told you earlier, it's going to be that Vince McMahon's NXT versus Bret Hart's WWE. And I think one of the biggest thing was how we were talking about that random group that was in the ring trying to protect WWE?
Right.
You seen that, and then you seen all, the Fatal 4-Way guys, Sheamus and Orton and Edge and Cena. I wouldn't be surprised if we see like one of those, that, like I said, that McMahon versus Bret Hart, and the Bret Hart's 4 guys being those 4 guys out of the Fatal 4-Way. It's possible.
Yeah, well, I like the idea of Vince McMahon versus Bret Hart, right? Where it's Vince's NXT guys versus Bret Hart's Raw guys. I really like, and it makes a lot of sense because Vince came out and cut that promo.
Yeah, and you never hear nothing again.
No, and then you never heard nothing, and there was a reason why. That was weird, man. I told you that was weird a couple weeks ago, where Vince came out basically said that he was going to make Raw a living hell for Bret, and that was it. Nothing else ever happened, and Vince just walked out. And I said weeks ago, there was a reason that they did that. What that is, I don't know, and this would make perfect sense to say that, you know what, Vince is in charge. And it wasn't Daniel Bryan, and this is where we're gonna switch gears here, and then I'm gonna open up the live phone lines. But we've got to talk about Bryan Danielson and WWE, what happened this past Friday. I guess I'll just run it down, basically what we know so far. Last Friday, about 9 o'clock Eastern Time on WWE.com, they announced that Bryan Danielson in parentheses, was fired from WWE. This led to basically a lot of speculation why would they fire a guy that they've pushed so hard in recent weeks, right? And then it came out that basically the deal is he spit in John Cena's face and choked Justin Roberts with his own tie. And the deal with this is they've got basically it's an unwritten rule backstage where you don't do anything to try to get negative press for, obviously, Chris Benoit choked and that whole deal. And this is an unwritten rule. A lot of people say that Bryan is being used as a scapegoat, which is completely obvious, as there have been, look at the ending of Monday Night Raw last night, okay? They had a guy in a limo who is just getting basically murdered with cars. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so basically the deal came, and then you had John Cena issued some tweets on his Twitter, and basically a lot of that stuff seemed like it was storyline. Mm-hmm. Nobody in WWE, and this is, as of right now, nobody in WWE has any idea if this is a work. There are only two people within that company that know, and those two people are Vince and Bryan Danielson himself. They would be the only two that know. And it's not normal that WWE would go out and work people. I mean, we're talking USA Network officials.
Yeah.
We're talking Jax or their toy.
Jax Pacific, yeah.
Jax Pacific. We're talking the highest of the highest higher-ups in WWE are under the impression that he's gone. Okay? So unless, it doesn't seem to me. When it came out on Friday, the fact that they had Bryan Danielson in parentheses, the fact that they mentioned both names on the WZROnline.com post, as I said earlier, if they had said WWE has come to terms on the release of Daniel Bryan and didn't have Bryan Danielson there in the parentheses thing, say that 5 times, so yes, parentheses. But no, basically the deal is, they mentioned both names, and that should have been the sign right there that this is the real deal. Of course, you never know. It's WWE. I would say, I
don't think it's a work.
It's the real deal.
Yeah. I think it's the real deal. But I just don't think he's going to be back like you were saying earlier, though. I think he's going to be a main eventer for TNA.
The deal here, TNA is obviously going to go after him.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? And according to Indie, at least one indie promoter, he's reached out to work indie dates. So, yeah, they want him back. It's not that they don't like him. I don't think Vince had a choice, okay? A higher up, and it didn't come within WWE. It wasn't an agent from WWE. It wasn't somebody within WWE. It was somebody from the outside. I'm guessing somebody from USA Network, okay? They didn't have very much of a choice, okay?
No.
And they had to fire him. They fired him, and the deal is, this is all going to blow over, okay? This will be a topic of discussion for the next couple weeks. It's all going to blow over, okay? And once it does, as long as TNA doesn't scoop him up, he's going to be brought back. He's going to be brought back to WWE unless TNA scoops him up, or unless he says, you know what, I didn't like my time in WWE and I'm not going back, or I didn't like the way I was fired. I got fucked. I got screwed, you know. But I truly believe that once this passes over, they saw potential in him. That was obvious. You know, they pushed him to the moon on NXT, and he was a part of the angle, and I just think. I don't think there's any hard feelings between WWE and Bryan Danielson. It was just a case of Vince basically saying, "Listen, man, it's not me. It's not me that wants to fire you. You know what I mean? It's not me that wants to get rid of you. It came from a higher up, and I've got to do it, man. I've got to do it, and you'll be back after this whole thing blows over."
Well, here's my thing. What if this thing doesn't blow over? You know what I'm saying? Like, since it's not somebody within the WWE, let's say it's somebody in USA.
It's not like TMZ and CNN. It's not like major news outlets pick this up, and this is a huge story. This is a huge blow-up story. It hasn't turned into anything like that, and it's not going to. It's already been 2 weeks or a week. You know, it's not going to blow up, and I think I believe that once things, just give it some time, and he will be brought back.
You don't think he'll end up with TNA?
TNA's wants him. Obviously.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, but do you think he'll end up there? I mean, do you think there's a chance?
He's got a 90-day no-compete, so WWE's got the next 3 months.
Yeah,